Hello friends, welcome to Learner's Planet. Friends, this is our fourth session of Quant Workshop. In the previous session, in fact, in all the previous sessions, we have discussed some problems based on this arithmetic, algebra, geometry section. In this session also, we are going to take some more problems. Have your paper and pen with you and start practicing. Write with me. Okay, so let's begin. Now friends, here I am having a problem based on function as well as probability, right? Two topics are combined over here, right? Both the topics are individually, they should be cleared in your mind. You should have attended the basic session of functions, and you must be knowing how to find out the domain of a given function, right? Functions and domain of the function, that you must be knowing. Now in the basic sessions of functions, I have discussed various types of inequalities, how to solve the inequalities and how to find out the domain of the function that we have discussed so many times, right? Now the most important thing over here that I would like to discuss, that is the mistake, a blunder that maximum of the students are making, and even I have taken this problem from a Premium Institute's mock test paper, and believe me, they have also made blundered in the solution of this sort of problem, in this problem. Okay, now what is that blunder actually? I would just like to elaborate so you will not be making that mistake once again, right? See, there are two types of solution, right? I just giving you each and every step carefully. It's x square minus 6 is greater than equal to x. I have done the cross multiplication. Other thing, now it is x square minus x minus 6 is greater than equal to 0. This is the first thing. Other thing, x minus 6 by x minus 1 is greater than equal to 0. X square minus 6 minus x by x should be greater than equal to 0. That means x square minus x minus 6 by x should be greater than equal to 0. Now this is the same expression. I have written it like this. I have written it like this, right? Now maximum number of the students, and even from the place where I have taken this problem, that this solution has been given. Okay, this is the inequality that is converted to this one, not this one, right? Now what is a blunder over here? Just listen to me carefully. See, in case of inequality, whenever you are going for cross multiplication, right? If you are going for cross multiplication, you will be missing this x, right? And x is a variable, so its value of this x is equally important, right? You cannot eliminate that. You cannot multiply it directly to 0, right? The first important thing that can be observed over here, see, if there is no x in the denominator, you cannot discard the value x is not equal to 0. Okay, because here you don't see x in the denominator, right? Here you see x is in the denominator. But if x is not equal to 0, for this function it doesn't matter at all, because you don't have x in the denominator, right? So this function is valid for all the values of x which are giving this expression more than 0, right? Even x is not equal to 0 is not at all discarded. But in this case, we have to consider x should not be equal to 0 because x is in the denominator. So if x is in the denominator and if it becomes 0, then the function will be undefined. Okay, if you are not clear with this conversation for the first time, then just repeat it, because it's really going to be an important aspect of functions. Okay, so there is the first difference between these two. Okay, now x square minus x minus 6 can be factorized as x plus 2 x minus 3, and it should be greater than 0. The same thing I am doing over here. Okay. Now I have discussed wavy curve method to solve inequality, right? What you have to do, you have to put up the zeros of this expression over here, right? It's minus 2, right? And it is 3. So if you draw wavy curve, it will be like this, right? And you want this expression to be greater than 0. That means x should be minus infinity to minus 2 and union 3 to infinity. Okay, minus 2 and 3 both included, but infinity is not at all included, right? So if this is the inequality, this is the answer. Okay, and if this is the inequality, what will be the answer? Just listen to me carefully. It is minus 2 0 and 3, because we are putting 0 for this x. Okay, because 0 is also a 0 of this expression. Okay, now if you draw curve over here, this curve will be obtained. Okay, in that case x belongs to minus 2 to 0. Minus 2 is included, 0 is not included because x is in the denominator. Union 0 to 3 we cannot take, because in that case the value of this expression will be less than 0. Then it is 3 to infinity, right? So if we solve this inequality, we'll be getting this solution, that see, minus infinity to minus 2, this expression is positive, but this expression according to this curve, this expression is positive between minus 2 to 0 only, right? The values which are less than minus 2, see, we can see minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, all of the values are included over here. But if we take minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, this will not support, this expression will not be greater than 0. Okay, so this is the precisely difference between these two. Okay, now in the book or whatever the sources from where I have got this problem, this is the solution. Okay, and for this particular problem we have to choose the integers from minus 5 to 5, right? Now from minus 5 to 5, what will be our answer? Minus 5, minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, then 3, 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values out of 11 will be there. Minus 5 to 1, that's minus 5 to minus 1, 5 values, 1 to 5 are the further 5 values, and 0. Total 11 values, and the answer is 7 by 11, right? That is this. But according to this, the answer will be changed. Now how the answer will be changed? I want this integers, so it's minus 2, minus 1, 0 we cannot take, then 3, 4 and 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values out of 11. So this is the answer, and here this is the answer. Okay, and the problem is that we don't have this answer 5 by 11 among the options. Okay. Now why I am telling this to be wrong, why this is wrong, right? See, according to this expression, this solution, the favorable values of x are minus infinity to minus 2 union 3 to infinity. No problem with 3 to infinity, but there is problem with minus infinity to minus 2. Why? Because suppose I take the value as maybe minus 6, right? Minus 6 is included in this. Forget this range. Minus 6 is included. So if I put x is minus 6, minus of minus 6 by minus 6, so that will be plus 6. Is it greater than equal to 1? No, it's 0. It's not greater than equal to 1, right? So that's why it is wrong. If at all you take any value between this range, suppose I take maybe minus 3, right? So this is minus 3, minus 6 upon minus 3, so that will be plus 2. Is it greater than equal to 1? No, it's minus 1. That's less than equal to, that is less than 1, right? And we are getting this mistake because we have done cross multiplication in the case of inequality. So that is actually not at all allowed. So whenever you have a variable in the denominator, doesn't matter if it is a constant, but whenever you are having a variable in the denominator, never ever cross multiply in case of inequalities. Otherwise you will be getting a wrong answer, right? Now if I see the solution this way, I'm getting the minimum value, that is minus 2. If I put minus 2 over here, so that's minus 2. Minus 6 by minus 2, that's plus 3. So that's actually greater than equal to 1. This is actually 1, so that's equal to 1. So the values that is greater than minus 2 will produce the result as greater than equal to 1. Okay, so this is the proper way of solving the inequality, right? And I hope you are getting this concept and you are able to draw the wavy curve, right? So you have the equation x minus 2 x plus 2 x minus 3 is greater than equal to 0. Just put up the zeros of this expression over here, that's minus 2 and 3, minus 2 and 3, and start making the curve from right hand side, right? At every 0, change the direction of the curve, right? You are starting from rightmost direction, come down, then go to the next 0, then if once again if you are having any zeros, then come down, then this is the way of drawing a wavy curve. Okay, so whatever the range that is above the number line will give you this the range of the values when this expression is greater than 0, and the values that is below the number line will produce a range when this expression is less than equal to 0, right? For any value that is between -2 to 3, suppose we take 1, right? So that will produce the negative result. You can see 1 plus 2, 3, and 1 minus 3, minus 2. So that's less than 0. Okay. So this shows the negative values and this shows the positive values of this expression. Okay. So this is how we draw the wavy curve, and if you are not at all clear with the wavy curve method, then do attend the basic sessions of functions. Okay, because good number of problems, at least you can assume 2 to 3 problems based on functions are part of CAT every year. Okay, so this should be clear in your mind once for all. And the important fact, once again, I would like to mention over here, don't never ever go for the cross multiplication in case of inequalities when you have variables in the denominator. Okay, because they play an important role. Now let's see this problem. Here, Swati had a number of cookies. After eating one, she gave half the remainder to her sister. After eating another cookie, she gave half of what was left to her brother. Swati now had only 5 cookies left. How many cookies did she start with? Okay, you can even go by backward, by options also, or you can even solve it. Right? See, after eating another cookie, she gave half of what was left to her brother. Right? So before giving her brother, she was having a double of 5, that is 10 cookies. Okay, and before eating this cookie, she was having 10 plus 1, 11. Right? And before giving, she gave half the remainder to her sister. That means before giving her sister, she was having 22, and that before eating this one, she was having 23, right? So that's pretty simple. Okay. Now, this question, Sn is the set of all those numbers which are less than n and relatively prime to n other than 1 and n. Sn is equal to number of elements in Sn. Okay, we have to find out S47 into S53. Pretty simple. See, 47 and 53, both of them are prime numbers. So we have to find out number of numbers which are co-prime to 47 and less than 47. So obviously there will be 45 numbers because we have to exclude 1 and n. That means 1 and 47, both of them should be excluded. So we are left with 45 numbers because 47 itself is a prime number. So all the numbers will be relatively prime to 47, and if they are less than that. Okay, so that's 45. Similarly 53 is also prime number. So except 1 and 53, all 51 numbers will be co-prime with 53. Okay, so 45 into 51 is your answer. So a simple conceptual problem. I hope you are clear. Now this question, a good one. Wheels of diameter 7 cm and 14 cm start rolling simultaneously from X and Y, which are 1980 cm apart, towards each other in opposite direction. Both of them make same number of revolutions per second. If both of them meet after 10 seconds, find the speed of the smaller wheel. See, they have to jointly cover up that distance 1980 and then they are meeting after 10 seconds. That means relative speed is 198 meter per second. Okay. Now friends, when a wheel moves, just see carefully. If it moves, what happens? It just covers up the circumference to reach this point. Okay, that means the complete revolution, the length of the revolution is nothing but the circumference of this circle, right? Now circumference of this circle is its diameter is 7 and here the diameter is 14. So circumference of this will be, circumference is actually 2 pi r, or we can say pi d. In terms of diameter it is pi d, in terms of radius it is 2 pi r, right? So 7 pi and this is 14 pi. Right? So when this smaller wheel make one revolution, it will cover 7 pi length, and if this bigger wheel cover one revolution, it will cover 14 pi length. or we can convert them to number also. 20, this is this and this is this. Okay. That means in one revolution it is the smaller one is completing 22 centimeter and this bigger one is completing 44 centimeter. That means 22 plus 44, in one revolution they are coming 66 meter closer, right? One revolution of this and one revolution of this. So they are coming 66 meter closer, right? But the relative speed is what? 198 meter per second. That means per second how many revolutions are there? 198 by 66. So that's 3. So 3 revolutions per second they are making. Okay. And in one revolution the smaller wheel is making covering 22 meter. That means in 3 revolution it will be covering 66 centimeter. Okay, whatever meter or centimeter. So the speed is 66 meter per centimeters per second. I repeat, 1980 by 10, that is 198 meter per second, or centimeter precisely over here. Centimeter per second is the speed of relative speed of these two wheels, right? After that we find out the length to be covered up in one revolution, that is 2 pi r or pi d. So this smaller wheel is covering 22 centimeter in 22 centimeter in one revolution, and the bigger one is covering 44 in one revolution. So in one revolution jointly they are covering 66 meter, right? But the relative speed is actually 198 centimeter per second. That means per second they are getting closer by 198 centimeter. That means per second they jointly are making 3 revolutions, that is 198 by 66, right? So per second each one is making 3 revolutions. That means 22 into 366 centimeter they are moving per second. So that is the speed of the smaller wheel, and the bigger one will be 44 into 3, that's 132 centimeter per second. Okay, an interesting problem, like but easy. Now when x is real, what is the minimum value of this given expression? See, whenever you have to find out the minimum value of any quadratic cubic equation, what you can do, just convert them to perfect square number or perfect cube number, right? So x square plus 6x plus 14 can be written as x square plus 6x plus 12 plus 2. So that is x plus 6 whole square plus 2, right? Now minimum value can be achieved when this expression is 0, because this expression will never be negative, right? Will never be negative obviously, because it's a perfect square number and we are given that x is real. So x plus 6 whole square will never be negative, right? So we cannot get any value less than 2. At max what can happen, that this expression can be 0 when x is equal to minus 6, right? So what will be the minimum value? That is 2. Below 2 we cannot get any value, because x plus 6 whole square is always a positive quantity. Okay, so the minimum value is 2. Now what is the least number to be subtracted from 65, 95 and 155 so that each is divisible by 2, 3 and 5? Okay, so 65, 95, 155, all of them are odd numbers, and if they have to be divisible by 2, that's an even number, then we need to deduct an odd number from these, right? All of them. So 10 and 20, since both of them are even number, they are cancelled. I'm just going through options. Now if I deduct 5 from 65, it will be 60, then 90 and then 150. Let's see. Yes, then they are divisible by 2, 3 and 5, all of them as well, right? So even after deducting the 5, that's okay. Okay, no need to go for 15. I hope you are clear. A 22nd problem is this. Now two partners A and B invested rupees 2,500 and 1,500 respectively in a business. They decided to distribute 50% of the total profit equally among themselves. Then they also decided that A would keep 20% of the remaining profit as he managed the business. The rest was distributed in the ratio of capital invested. Determine the total profit if A received rupees 500 more than A. Okay, suppose we assume the total profit is rupees 100. Now 50 rupees is distributed among A and B equally, 25 and 25, right? Now we are left with 50 rupees. So A is keeping 20% of 50 rupees, that means 10 rupees more. Now we are left with 40 rupees, right? Now 40 rupees should be distributed in the ratio 5:3. Okay, that is 25 and 15. Okay. Now this is 60 and this is 40, right? So the difference is 20. And this 20 is actually 500. So 100 will be what? 5 times of this, that's 2500. Pretty simple. The unit digit of a 3-digit number is square of hundredths digit. Which of the following can be the difference between the number and the number formed by reversing the order of the digits? Okay. See any 3-digit number, suppose it is XYZ and the reversed number, that is ZYX. The difference between these two is always multiple of 99. You should be clear about it. Why? That's 100x plus 10y plus z and 100z plus 10y plus x. So that's 99x minus z. So that's always multiple of 99, the difference between these two, right? So among the options we just have this one, that is multiple of 99, right? So this is the only option that is available with us, difference between the number that is obtained by reversing the order of the digits. Okay, so that's pretty simple problem. No need to go for the square and all that story. So this is required, this story is required only when there are two options or more than one options with the multiple of 99. But we don't have that, so don't go for such stories. Okay. Now we have this problem. If a is any integer, then a square e raised to 21 minus 1 upon a will always be divisible by. This expression can be written as e raised to 23 minus a. Right. Now we know Fermat's theorem, because directly we cannot solve it. You will not be able to get the answer whether this expression is divisible by 27, 21, 27 or 23, right? So I just want you to recall Fermat's theorem. According to Fermat's theorem, any number, say n raised to p minus 1, when divided by p, the remainder is 1. Here, what is the condition? That p should be prime and n and p should be co-prime to each other. So if I make comparison this expression with this, that's a raised to 22 minus 1, right? Now what is happening? N raised to p minus 1 when divided by p, the remainder is 1. That means n raised to p minus 1 is divisible by p. Okay, so here a raised to 22 minus 1, a raised to 22 minus 1 will be divisible by 23. The same thing you can make comparison from this. Okay, here p minus 1, that is 23 minus 1, that's 22 minus 1, that's multiple of 23. Okay, and in this case the condition is a and 23 should be co-prime to each other. So when a and 23 are co-prime to each other, a raised to 22 minus 1 will be divisible by 23. In that case the remainder is 0, or we can say a raised to 22 minus 1 is divisible by 23. Now what if a is not co-prime to 23? If a is not co-prime to 23 and 23 itself is a prime number, that means a will be any number that is multiple of 23. So this a will be multiple of 23. In that case, again this expression, this entire expression will be divisible by 23. So either a or a raised to 22 minus 1, one of them will be definitely divisible by 23. So if one of them is divisible by 23, then obviously the entire expression will be divisible by 23 because these two are being multiplied. Okay, so pretty simple problem based on Fermat's theorem, an interesting one also. And if you are not able to recall the Fermat's theorem, then it is difficult to solve this problem. Okay. Now I have this interesting question with me. If 100 factorial will end in n zeros when written in base 21, then what is the value of n? Precisely, if 100 factorial is completely expanded in the not in decimal system but in 21 system, then how many zeros will be there at the end of this expansion? That has been asked, right? Now it's a pretty simple question, just bit twisted from the normal ones. See what is happening. See, if at all you have to find out how many zeros will be there if in 100 factorial at the end of the 100 factorial, if it is completely expanded, if we talk about the decimal number system. Now what happened, what we do is, in decimal number system, suppose if we have to find out, we see number of 5 and 2 combination. Okay, how many combinations of 5 and 2 are there? So these number of combination will provide us the total number of zeros at the end of the expansion, right? For that, what we do, 100 by 5 because there will be obviously more 2's than 5's, but we are interested in combinations only, so extra 2's are not at all required. So what I do, I just find out the number of 5's, right? So there are 20, then 20 divided by 5, 4. So in all there are 24 5's in 100 factorial if it is written in decimal number system. Okay, just listen to me carefully. I have already discussed this sort of questions in the basic number system sessions. So do attend that if you are not clear for the first time. So 100 factorial will be having, if it is expanded, 5 raised to 24 and 2 raised to enormous power also, other numbers also, but we are not at all interested, because to get 1 0 we need 1 5 and 2 combinations. If there are 2 5 and 2 combinations, we'll be getting 2 zeros. If there are 3 combinations, then we'll be getting 3 zeros. Now we are having 24 5's and we are in requirement of 24 2's. Obviously 2's will be more than that because every alternate number is multiple of 2. So there will be 24 5 and 2 combinations, so that will be 24 zeros there will be at the end of 100 factorial if it is written in decimal number system. Now from where I am getting this 5 and 2? Why I am using this 5 and 2? Because 5 into 2 is 10 and 10 is what? Decimal, right? So in decimal number system we make it 10. If it is 21 system, what we have to see? 7 and 3. Isn't it? So this 5 and 2, these two are co-prime to each other. They are producing 10, and in the 21 system, 7 into 3, they are co-prime to each other and they will produce 10. In 21 system, 21 is 10. Okay. So what we have to do in this particular question, we have to see how many 7 and 3 combinations are there. Now once again, definitely 3's will be more than 7 because every third number is multiple of 3. So we have to precisely find out how many 7's will be there in 100 factorial. So 100 by 7, that's 14, and then 14 by 7, that's 2. So in all it will contain 7 raised to 16 and 3 raised to some more power, but we are interested in 16 combinations. Okay, so we'll be getting 16 7 and 3 combinations. That means there will be 16 zeros at the end of 100 factorial if it is written in base 21. Okay, so pretty simple but twisted question. If you are conceptually clear about the base system, then you can solve this problem very easily. If it is written in base 22, then you have to see 11 and 2 combinations obviously. So any other base, you need to break up that base into co-prime factors, and after that same procedure you have to follow. Getting my point? In decimal we use 5, decimal number system we use 5 and 2 because 5 into 2 is 10. In 21 system we'll be using 7 and 3 because 7 into 3 is 21. That is 10 in the case of base 21. Okay, I hope you are clear with this, and in the next session we'll be discussing more concepts, more problems. So be ready with that. Okay, bye bye.